You were regrettably expendable, my dear.
Hey everyone, it's Miss Parker. Long time no see. Happy New Year, and I hope the holidays have been treating you all well. And hopefully, 2024 has been okay for you guys so far. Honestly, I think it's been a busy start to my year, but overall it's been good. Like my mental health has been in one of the best places it's been for I don't know how long. Um, so yeah, I'm doing really good. I hope you all are as well. Um, so last time we spoke, at the end of last season, like I was at the end of my rope. Like I think it was like a combination of playing so much League. Like I played a lot of games last season, and it was like a buildup of frustration over my lack of skills. And I had begun editing that video that I had mentioned in the last video I posted here about my downfall. But at the end of the season, between like Christmas and then into the new year, like I took like a 2-week break. I didn't touch League. And then, starting the new season, I kind of came to the conclusion that it wasn't super necessary. Like I was still thinking about posting it, but at this point, like with the new season, it's kind of obsolete, I think, to some degree. If enough people want to see it, then yeah, but otherwise, it's mostly just me complaining, and it's not super fun to watch. At this point, it would just be repeating like the same grievances over and over and over again, like the same complaints about winning lane, but losing the game, that kind of thing. But new year, new us, right? Like I got a new setup. I'm hoping to get back into school in the fall, which is really exciting. I really benefit from being in school. I think I benefit from just constantly learning new things. And kind of challenging myself in that regard. I love to study. I love to take notes and things like that. So I had I'd been wanted to get back into school for such a long time, but like every time I try, like some circumstance, I just couldn't. But now that I've kind of got more of a plan, I'm hoping that this is the year where I'll get back into school fully. I've got 2 more years to finish my degree, so almost there, right? So I had started playing on the PBE before like Hui's release. I really wanted to practice Hui and get like a feel of like the new map and the new items. So like transitioning into the new season was a lot smoother for me because I was already familiar with the changes in the map. And I started playing a few games like in the past couple weeks, I would say, towards the end of January. And I placed in gold pretty quickly. But I wanted to talk about like what's going on with this new season and new map and new items. So let's go. Okay, so my new thoughts about the season is wow, wow. Now I know like a lot of people in general have like different feelings about the new and changed items. But I think like overall everybody's just happy that mythic items are gone. And personally for me, it's amazing that like I can build Locket and Cerulea and everything, whatever my heart desires. But honestly, I think the best quality of life change has just been the new support starting item, the World Atlas. It's like finally we have like an item that we start the game with become something more useful and pertinent to our gameplay rather than just placing wards. Last season, like if the game went on long enough, like it just felt like the item was taking spot in my inventory, and it was just useless at a certain point. And now, like, you know, the World Atlas can be evolved into like specific items that really feel like they have an effect on my gameplay. And as of right now, Enchantress and Mage supports in particular are really strong right now. Dreammaker and Zazek's Realm Spike, they're getting a lot of use. But I've, you know, of course I've tried like the Celestial Opposition. I really like the slow from that. I like the healing from Solstice Slay, whether I'm playing Renata or I'm playing Rakan. Bloodsong like feels so strong and useful on like Senna and Bard. It feels like we have a lot more variance now, and I feel like we've needed that for a long time on supports. And depending on like the champions you play, you can change up your like items and runes, you know. There's a lot of variety. It's really refreshing. And so already, you know, I've been keeping an eye on pro play, and it's been really interesting to me this season because there's been a lot of Renata being played already. And initially I was kind of confused by like how much she was being played. Initially, like when I was playing in PvE, I felt like none of the support items like really fit her. Compared to like other supports. Like if I went Dreammaker, for example, I just wouldn't have like the same like numbers at the end of the game as I would like building it on, for example, like Soraka or Milio, you know. If I went like Realm Spike, I just wouldn't have like the same damage as like Lux going it. Celestial Opposition in particular requires that you be right with the enemies, which isn't really where you want to be as Renata. And then like her only opportunities to immobilize are down and like be able to heal, get the heal from the item with Solstice Slay, are just down to whether or not you're landing your Q and E and R, which are like they're not difficult to hit most of the time, but you know, other support items, other supports like Leona or Nautilus or Blitzcrank have a lot more opportunities, I think, for sure, to land CC. And I think overall, like, all the items feel on her okay, like, but that's just it. Like, they're just okay. And I felt like no matter what I built, there would be like another support that could build the same thing and get better use out of it. Which was kind of like, it was really discouraging, I'll admit. At first I was just like, I don't know how this new season's gonna go, like, you know. But Renata's like doing well, like she's seeing a lot of pro play, she doesn't feel weak. And she's got like a solid 50% win rate. And when I'm looking at like the pro players' builds, it's really interesting. You see like a variety of items on her. You'll see Celestial Opposition, you'll see Solstice Slay, you even see Bloodsong, like once in a blue moon, and Dreammaker, and like there's no limits on what people are building on her. I've come to the conclusion that Renata's not bound by items. To a certain degree, you can pretty much build anything and have like a level of success on it, which is really freeing for sure. And this comes down mostly to Renata's kit and playstyle. She doesn't need to put out a lot of damage or tank a lot. Her ult doesn't rely on her own ability power or attack damage, and she's kind of similar. I've come to the conclusion, kind of similar to Yuumi in the regards that she just needs strong allied champions to succeed, and if they make good use of her W, then she wins, right? But that being said, like, I think there's definitely builds that feel better than others, and everyone will have their own preferences, of course. I like being tanky so I can live as long as possible and have the best chance to use my W at the right time. movement speed from Cerulean and the new item Trailblazer. Like, it feels great for roaming and disengaging or engaging. The fact that, you know, Renata performs okay on all of these items means that we have all of the choices in the world on what we build, and it's really refreshing. You know, while like supports like Brand and Vel'Koz or Lux, they have to almost always go Realm Spike. On Renata, we can go Bloodsong and Fleet Footwork for poke and like taking advantage of our passive. We can go Dreammaker and like build full heals and shields, like with the Redemption, Locket, Staff of Flowing Water, Mikhail's. And if you want to be entirely tanky, you can go Celestial Opposition, Knight's Vow, Frozen Heart. Like, the variety is just, it's unbelievable. And I'm sure, like, at this point, you're kind of like, what's best? And you'll get different answers. I think, you know, if you look at the builds that everyone's going, I mean, everyone's pretty much going the same runes and everything, but in this video, I really want to be exploring and kind of discussing the various builds and runes that I've been testing and playing, and how successful they are. You know, and as with any league build, it really comes down to your team in the end, unfortunately. It depends on if you've got the inter on your team or not. But I can certainly say there are some super fun builds to explore. So let's do it. Okay, so the first item we're going to be discussing is Bloodsong. So the endgame description is as follows. After using an ability, your next basic attack within 10 seconds deals 150% base AD bonus physical damage on hit. If the target is a champion, inflict them with expose weakness for 6 seconds, causing them to take, and then it depends on if you're melee or range. Melee gets 10%, range 6%. Increased damage from all sources, 1.5 seconds cooldown, and that begins after the empowered attack. And you know, I saw how strong it was on you know, Bard and Senna and Pike. And I was really curious how it would feel on Renata, because she has decent range, and her passive really encourages her to, and like her team, to be targeting the same enemy at a time. And because of that, I could kind of see Bloodsong being useful. And just for a refresher, or anybody who's new to Renata, her passive is where her basic attacks are empowered to apply a mark. It lasts about 6 seconds, and it refreshes on like subsequent hits, and expires when attacking a new enemy. Kind of similar to how Misfortune's passive functions, where you kind of have to switch targets to refresh the mark. Except you, if you're having an ally proccing the mark, then you want to just keep attacking the same ally. So if the enemy is unmarked, the attack also deals bonus magic damage equal to 1%, 2% based on level, plus 2% per 100 AP of the target's maximum health. So ally champions damaging attacks and abilities against a marked target will consume the mark to deal additional bonus magic damage equal to 1%, 2% based on level, and 2% per 100 AP of the target's maximum health. So both of you and your allies are getting like the same like bonus damage basically, but obviously your ally stats will be different than yours. And I felt like this would have really decent synergy with Bloodsong, especially if you build a little bit of attack speed, so you're able to apply your mark more often, and then if you have an EDC with high attack speed, you'll both be proccing and then bursting the mark, like, a lot. And for those like new to the channel, I've explored building like Fleet Footwork, PTA, and Lethal Tempo previously. And for a non-tanky build, it really isn't too bad. Renata has a base range of 550, so she has pretty decent range, and it allows her to poke most supports with relative ease. It's fun to be able to place and like proc your passive so often, you know, when building attack speed, and make it feel more like a useful passive. And I mentioned it before. The most common rune set for Renata's Guardian, but if you want some variety, the attack speed tree can be really fun. Fleet Footwork can provide some sustain as well as some movement speed for easy trades and poking. PTA works as well, but you know, it really doubles down on focusing single targets with your team. You'll have a little less sustain, and you have to build like attack speed to have a chance of like getting 3 autos down quick enough to proc it. But if you do, it's really rewarding. Item-wise, if you want to fully commit with like an attack speed Bloodsong build, you could go Rapid Fire Cannon, Gnasher's Tooth, Winsu's Rage Blade, Kraken Slayer, Storm Razor. You might get pinged a little. I got pinged. You know, my ADC that game defended me and said it doesn't matter what item she goes, because in the end it's not really what she's for, you know. But it could be a lot of fun, really, and you might actually be able to fend for yourself and deal some damage, which is not something that happens too often on Renata. Alright, so next we've got Celestial Opposition. So, as stated in its description, become blessed to reduce incoming champion damage by melee 35%, range 25%, lingering for 2 seconds after taking damage from a champion. After the linger ends, you lose bless to unleash a shockwave around you that slows nearby enemies by 50% for 1.5 seconds. With a 20 restart spawn taking damage from champions, second cooldown. Now, when using Celestial Opposition, it just reminds me a lot of Aftershock. It's not bad when going tankier, but it's definitely more ideal for like going into melee teams. So if you're laning against Pyke, Nautilus, Blitzcrank, Alistar, those are all really good champions I would build Celestial Opposition for. And for build synergy, I would recommend like Locket, Trailblazer, Redemption, Mikhail's, you know, of course, depending on the situation. Guardian is the standard rune set. It's basically your typical tank Nada gameplay at its finest. But I actually want to talk about Trailblazer for a second. So how it works is at full stacks, it gives you movement speed, and then you leave like a little dust trail for teammates that grants like additional movement speed. Kind of like the Elixir of Iron, if you've used that before. Unfortunately, like as a ranged champion, Renata doesn't get the additional like slow proc that melee champions do when basic attacking enemies at like full stacks with Trailblazer. But it does work well with Celestial Opposition in general, I would say. It allows you to like get into like the thick of things really quickly, and tank more and slow enemies. I think it's a lot of fun to play with, and I kind of imagine Renata with like a big bulky backpack is really funny. And I think this item plays better on Rakan, like Alistar Pyke, but I don't think it's detrimental to Renata's gameplay at all. So if you like tank Nada builds, as you know, I'm a connoisseur of tank Nada. It's Celestial Opposition and Trailblazer. It's not bad at all. If you don't want to go like the usual tank support build, you know, so not going the usual like Redemption, Mikhail's and stuff, you could go like full tank if you wanted. So you could go like Frozen Heart, Thorn Mail, the new item, I think, Canic Runkern. It's like the MR item. Spirit Visage. I love Anathena's chains. Etc. Yeah, I think in general, nothing is scarier than a Renata you can't kill. So you can't go wrong with Celestial Opposition. You can't go wrong with Tank Nada, I would say. Okay, so next we've got Dreammaker. I have mixed feelings about Dreammaker. Like, on paper, it sounds like a really good item. It wouldn't be bad on Renata. Every 8 seconds, you gain a blue Dream Bubble and a purple Dream Bubble, granting a heal or shield to an allied champion, excluding yourself, causes you to blow both of your bubbles to them, empowering them for 3 seconds. The blue bubble reduces the next instance of non-minion damage they take by 140, and the purple bubble grants them 90 bonus magic damage on hit on their next basic attack. So this season, I have so far been playing, Renata, but if Renata doesn't look good into the team, if there's like an enemy Zeri or, Yasuo or things like that, I've been going Milio. Ironically, they're two very different, characters, but they kind of play the same. They're like, they're opposite, but they're the same. Milio also has a disengage with his Q. He's got a shield as well, although it's way lower cooldown than Renata's. And his ultimate does the opposite of Renata's, where she berserks enemies, he cleanses his team. So he's been pretty easy for me to pick up, and he's cute. He's like, I don't know, like he's just a cute character. I like him a lot. So I have a lot of fun playing him as well. But my point is that, like, when compared to playing Milio, I feel like the stats at the end of the game are incredibly lackluster on Renata. I think the main reason is simply Renata's cooldowns and the fact that the only ability she has that can trigger Dreammaker is her E, if you manage to get it onto your allies. Like Milio and Lulu and Janna's shields, it's point and click, but Renata, you have to aim it, and oftentimes, in low elo at least, your allies are moving and they don't walk into it, or they, walk away, things like that. But Milio, on the other hand, he can trigger Dreammaker with his W, with his E, with his R. Champions, like Soraka, Sona, Nami, Janna, Lulu, they are able to much more fluidly utilize Dreammaker than Renata can. Which sucks, because, like, the item is so cute. I imagine she would hate it. She would hate, like, the cutesy item, which is why I depicted her crushing it angrily in her fist. She's like, why would you give me this? But like I stated previously, all the items aren't bad on Renata. They're okay. We have ways to make Dreammaker work if that's what you want to go. So you can run Redemption and Locket, so you have 2 more opportunities to be able to trigger the item. It's like, it's not the best, but if you're like me and you're obsessed with Renata and you want to go Renata every game and you want to try Dreammaker, you're not like trolling, I would say. If you really like enjoy building like a normal Enchantress Renata, Dreammaker could really complement that. It complements that playstyle a lot. So some other items you could build would be Mikhail's Staff of Flowing Water, Dawn Core, Night's Vow, or Ardent Censer. Guardian works well, as always, and you're going to hear this the whole way through. Like, it's just what everyone goes on her, it's fine. But Summonary actually works, like, well for the Enchantress build, I would say. Like every other case, I'd be like, yeah, Guardian's probably the way to go, but Summonary could work really well with this because it passively gives a shield as well. And I'm sure with like the right kind of team and like if you go low cooldown, like runes and you go like Ionian Boots of Validity, you could get really good use out of Dreammaker. So I wouldn't say, you know, don't ever go it. I think you could have a lot of fun with it if you wanted to. So next we've got Zazak's Realm Spike. I'll be honest, I like see the word Realm Spike, and I really want to, I don't know why I want to read it as Realm Spike. It almost sounds better to me too, Realm Spike. But I'm just pretty sure it's just Realm Spike. I don't, yeah. That's but this item has been like the go-to for mage supports, and it's pretty strong. So the item description is dealing ability damage to an enemy champion creates an explosion at their location after a 0.5 second delay. It also gives you vision, by the way. Like you can see I don't know if it's supposed to, but you can see like the animation when you don't have vision, which is kind of interesting. So it deals 50 plus 15% AP plus 3% of each target's maximum health magic damage to enemies within the area, capped at like 300 against monsters. And it's got a 9 to 6 based on level 2nd cooldown. So super low cooldown on the item compared to the others. Yeah, it's pretty low cooldown. And I have to mention it doesn't proc with Renata's ultimate because it doesn't count as her dealing damage with it. This is why that one, I think, Malignance doesn't work on her, because it doesn't count as her doing damage on her own, so you wouldn't get the proc, which sucks because Malignance looks like it's built for her. It looks like she made it in her company, and the low cooldown is for ultimates is amazing, but it just, you wouldn't get the procs, so it's kind of like you know, maybe fun on ARAM or something, but not if you're doing ranked. I wouldn't say to waste your money on it. But at least like you have more opportunities to proc Realm Spike compared to Dreammaker. So you can obviously your Q, your E. So you know, on her own, like Renata's not meant to deal damage, but you know, occasionally I'll admit it's fun to go full AP Renata. And Realm Spike is ideal for that if you want to do that. So if you're feeling a little spicy, our Airy or like Arcane Comet are the runes I would go to complement like an AP Nada build. And of course you can always go like Guardian and normal Enchanter items with Realm Spike, but since it scales with AP, like I figure like why not go all the way if you wanted to. So like Leandries, Rabadons, Crypt Bloom, Shadow Flame, like another AP items work really well. And as of right now, Shadow Flame is really strong currently, so you can't go wrong with building that if you're going AP. But I actually had a game recently where at the end, like I was constantly checking. I was trying to see if I could get more damage with the Realm Spike than the enemy Lux support did. By the end of the game, I had dealt more damage with it, so I was proccing it more than she did, which I don't know. And we ended up losing that game, so I don't know how I managed to do that. But like I don't think it's necessarily a bad pick. Like I did less overall damage against champions than her, but I mean that's to like be expected. Renata has like no AP scaling. It's terrible. But you know, dealing damage on Renata in general is just a difficult task. If you go above 20k damage on Renata, it's pretty uncommon. Unless you're always going like AP or on hit, or you know, you're purposely trying to go full damage. It's pretty hard to but our main threat as Renata is just turning the enemies against each other, right? And like saving teammates with W. So being able to deal a little extra damage where enemies might not be expecting it is just like the icing on the cake, I would say. Like, it gives you the opportunity to build outside of the usual support items, and have more variety in your gameplay, which is, again, super refreshing. It's fun, yeah. If you guys like do a lot of damage with it, I'd love to see it. I do think it's a fun item. I like the animation of like the jaw like coming up. It's cool. I like it a lot. But yeah, on to the next. Alright, so this is our final item, the Solstice Sleigh. It works surprisingly well on Renata, and it doesn't require you to like be in the fray as much as like Celestial Opposition. It doesn't make you have to build full AP to do anything with it, like Realm Spike. And it also works really well with Enchanter builds. So if you're like kind of wanting something that's tankier, but it also heals, like it's a good balance. So basically the description is slowing or immobilizing an enemy champion causes you and the nearest and most wounded allied champion to heal for 120 and gain 90 bonus movement speed, decaying over 4 seconds, and it has a 20-second cooldown. So it's pretty straightforward. It's like the shortest description out of all of the new support items. And it triggers with Renata's Q, her E, and also her ultimate, because her Berserk is coded as like an immobilizing effect. So you actually have like a lot of options, a lot of opportunities to be able to trigger it. And I've noticed like the heal when engaging, because it has a really nice clear visual effect, so you can see it. You can see like the heal leave you to go to an ally, which is really nice. I like that visual sign. And the movement speed is always like super helpful. And honestly, out of all of the support items that are built in Renata on Pro Play, Solstice Sleigh is probably built the most. Of course, Guardian is the usual rune set, but you know, the heal on the item can actually trigger Airy, so that would be a viable interaction as well. So that's another option when Airy could be useful. Item-wise, you can go a variety of builds, so if you want to go a little bit tankier, you can go Locket with it. You can go Trailblazer, Mikhail's, Redemption. It's basically a combination of Dreammaker and Celestial Opposition. I guess it's like the middle road of those. Or you can go Knight's Vow as well. And the outgoing heal effect, like I said, it triggers Airy, but it can also like grant synergy, so it can cause the Staff Flowing Water and Ardent Sensor to activate, which are great items for Renata. Like out of all of the starting support items, Solstice Sleigh is probably the best, I would say. As I mentioned, everything is okay. And that's the best part. Everything's okay, so you can go anything, and it'll be okay. But Solstice Sleigh is probably the best because it allows you to easily build tanky or Enchantress, and it gives Renata a heal, which is something you can only usually do with Redemption or Mikhail's. And enemies don't expect Renata to heal, you know. And honestly, it's really funny to imagine Renata like in a sleigh. She could be like a reverse Santa and just delivering poison. Not coal, it's just straight up poison. I had a lot of fun like trying to figure out what to draw, and so I really wanted to have all of the series of items with her be like a serious kind of tone, but I just had to draw her in a sleigh. It's just too funny. So overall, the new season is really treating Renata well. Like the items aren't too strong, they aren't too weak. She doesn't feel weak, but she's not like OP. So she's not gonna get nerfed or buffed, I don't think, anytime soon. It's a really good time to like enjoy the flexibility of builds and like test the limits while it's still early in the season. I think it's a great time to be a Renata player because you can do so much. It's so fun. Yeah, I had a hard time last season because I felt like I was just constantly building the same things. But this season I can go, the different support item and be able to go like in a different item tree completely to complement it. It's a lot of fun. Like I think it encourages a little bit more creativity for sure, which is I keep saying it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I think it's just nice to have a change. Yeah, I like seeing the different items in the shop, and I'm really enjoying it. So whether you like going tank Nada or you want an opportunity or excuse to go like AP Nada, this is the best time to. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you all do. I'm excited to climb this season. Yeah, let's do it. I'll see you guys around. Thank you for joining me.